the Godsman's philosophy is that we are all working toward an ascendant, something beyond the physical, something that could be beyond the physical, beyond even something beyond magical, something even possibly beyond the gods. And that's what we're trying to. That's what each of us in our own way is trying to find. And John's looking for it in his own way by communing with nature. I'm still looking for my path as well. But each of us sees that we're trying to improve ourselves.
She's impressed by the answer.
So you think you'll give him some time to hear him out?
She says that she looks forward to sitting with him, but she does not expect to be sitting at the table long. And when you tell Redfern that he has her ear, he also agrees to come to this meeting.
Okay.
So let's tie up one loose end before we finish up with the middle bobs. Riot, you have dinner on Astral Day with Factal Terrence.
Yeah.
He brings you to a room, very small room, with circular walls. It's deep in one of the sub-basements in the Shattered Temple. This is a place that was not part of the original temple. This was a place that was built by the Aethar after they took control of it. Walking into its room, it's almost shaped like the inside of a hollowed sphere. But it's very small. There's a tiny table in the center of it that's just big enough for 2 places and a candlestick. It's very, very cold in this room. And the door, when it's closed behind you, you see the inside of the door is also curved, so it makes a nice seam with the walls. Terrence tells you that this is a special room. This is a special place because it's shielded from the power of the gods. He motions to where you're holding your special fork, saying that if you were to try to confer with it, if you were to try to use the abilities bestowed upon you by Ostrom, you would find them to be mute in this place.
So sort of like the base of the spire.
And he shakes his head. This is very different. Because you are also a bard, are you not?
That's true.
You also command magics powered by music and story. You would find them to be perfectly effective in this space. This is not a sphere of anti-magic. This is a sphere of protection against divinity in all of its forms. What I mean to tell you is that anything you say in this room cannot reach Osprum's ears, however powerful her agents may be. And so I'll pose to you again the question that you didn't answer straight last time we met. And he asks you again why you've brought these reservations to him about Ostrom.
I'll tell him that he has to swear to secrecy. Not even my closest friends know about this. It's something that I just don't speak of for obvious reasons.
And he says he gives you his word.
How much have I told you about how you know the story of how I came to worship Ostrom?
He nods and he says, in addition, I have had considerable intelligence gathered on you and your companions since we last spoke. He tells you he probably knows more about you than you know.
What I did not out of a belief that Ostrom's teachings were true and just and should be followed. I did it out of a belief that life should be spared when possible. And so I did it to spare Ostrom's life. I know that the Aethar wouldn't hold with such a sentiment. but I was asked to kill a god and found that I couldn't do it. What I have also found that I can't do is live under her thumb.
So what you need is a way to return her to a certain level of power without obligating you to her lawful desires.
Precisely. I know that admitting to this probably means you won't be willing to help me, because what I'm proposing to do is antithetical to your cause.
He tells you he has something that might help you, and that he is going to give it to you. And the reason he's going to give it to you is because you're going to fail. No matter what you do, no matter how hard you try to preserve the life of this goddess who's on the brink of death, you will fail. Because as a power, if she has not held on to her believers, her sphere of influence, then she doesn't deserve to exist. And so she will fade away. And in this failure, you will come to understand the limitations of powers. He tells you what he can do is arrange for an item to be crafted that will not only aid you in this difficulty you're having with Osprey and your hilarious mind-reading fork, but also perhaps in your machinations infiltrating the fated.
And how many people wonder about that? How many people will know about that, I wonder?
He says, unless you've told anybody, nobody outside of this room and the trusted investigators that I've hired. He says, I'm not out to get you, Riot. Yeah, he said, I'm not out to get you. I want you to strive for this with every fiber of your being. And I want you to fail. And I want you to understand the ramifications of that failure. So with your permission, would you let me help you?
Yes.
And you enjoy another nice meal with Factal Terrence. And an item is delivered. You have a 5e DMG, do you not?
Yes, I do.
An item is delivered to you after another week or two. It's a small copper ring, and on the inside of the unadorned band is the symbol of the Aethar. It's a ring of mind shielding.
I know this well because I gave one of my players one. Do I have the added complication?
What added complication?
The one that I gave to my players has a person's living soul inside of it that communicates to them telepathically all the time.
No, it has nothing like that.
That's terrible.
It's just... Yep. It does, however, require attunement. So if you're going to use it, it's going to eat up one of your attunement slots.
Yeah.
But what this will do...
worth it.
The correspondence that comes with the delivery, Terrence tells you that this ring, provided you stay out of the realm of a power, will shield you from a power being able to read your personal thoughts, to invade upon your own beliefs inside of your head. Even this magic fork you're carrying wouldn't be able to get inside. If you choose to go into the realm of a power, for example, if you go back to the Kodrashi Sea, all bets are off.
Understood.
Is there who? Do all 5 of you attend this Middlebob dinner?
Before we go in, I'm just an aside to Riot. I'm just like, so we're locking the doors once they're all in, right?
That was going to be my next question. What? First of all, where do you guys set this meeting at?
I'd imagine we want to do somewhere neutral, not where...
Well, the problem... Well, I guess part of the question relies on how mobile is Middlebob II.
Oh, he's perfectly mobile. He has an awesome mechanical chair.
Okay, cool.
What's wrong with a bowl of Anaheim?
You could take that mechanical chair to Pandemonium, for example.
Well, we can't lock the doors to a bowl of Anaheim.
I mean, right off the bat, Kelian is not going to agree to have it at the Middlebob grounds, and Middlebob II is not going to agree to have it at Kekina's woodland.
Because he doesn't want a bag put over his head.
Exactly. Unless it's a mechanical bag.
Why don't we go to our favorite haunt on the Beastlands?
On the Beastlands?
Can't lock the doors to the Beastlands.
That's true, also. It's just a nice picnic spot that we go to all the time.
I thought that was on Mytopia.
Oh, no, yeah, I might be thinking about Mytopia.
Can't even lock the sky on Mytopia.
So is that you're going to put them somewhere where you can lock them in?
That might be a good idea. Does anyone have any suggestions? We could hold at my temple.
Well, I think we need to have it off of the signal because in case Aunt Nancy wants to insinuate himself.
Oh, possibly. Yeah.
If Aunt Nancy wants this game to get played, he can do his share. So that seems like a reasonable idea.
Yeah, I'm not worried about Nancy.
That's another point that I wonder. Should we arrange for everyone to come, like Sprig and Red, Cherry Ivy, Dinkflink, all of them? Because he tends to show up.
Yeah,
he tends to show up when there's 8 players in one place.
Yeah, I absolutely think so.
Yeah. I don't think he's also met all 8 of them in one place yet, has he?
No, he hasn't.
Yeah.
So I think that would be a good thing to do.
So where is this place at?
Pandemonium.
Don't worry, over whistles. It's cool.
At that end, totally cool. Sorry.
It's cool, man.
I don't know. What's a nice restaurant? Like, it doesn't need to be somewhere we've been before.
Well, I recommend not Mount Celestia.
Let's rent out a hall somewhere.
Where at?
How about in the cities, in one of the prime cities that these Middlebobs live on?
Oh yeah, that human city where Gegessa runs this place. We could do that.
You could find a nice restaurant or a hall or something to rent out for a while.
Yeah, sounds good.
Now, which of the Middlebobs are you bringing in on this plan to get them in and then lock them there until they come to an agreement?
Dinkflink probably.
Okay.
Should we give Dinkflink a key? If things get too bad, she can let them out.
Yeah, that seems cooler to lock her inside and not give her a key.
So it's going to be the 8 Middlebobs and then the 5 of you. You're all going to this?
And I'm assuming her parents. What's in Cherry Ivy's parents, too.
Do you think we should bring Factal Terrence, Dolphinder,
No,
and...
this isn't any part of their thing.
Okay.
I don't even know that we should bring Cherry Ivy's parents if they're willing to let her go by herself.
Yeah, this isn't like a dangerous thing that's happening. This is just lunch.
All right.
This is a family reunion, yeah.
Yeah.
So you managed to find in this human city, you managed to find a nice inn that has a banquet hall, usually used for dignitaries visiting from the Dwarven Mountains or whatever on, Tolkien-esque Prime Material World, number 618.
It can be barred from the outside.
Yeah, you make that stipulation.
Okay.
Is that Serenity's job to close the doors, put the bars on? Middlebob the second sitting at the head of the table when Kekina arrives over 6 hours too late. After everybody has already eaten, candles have been doused, she walks into the room. He immediately makes a comment to the effect of she hasn't even bothered to dress for the occasion, to which she immediately shoots daggers at Riot and turns to leave the room.
That's when I'm going to point to someone outside the room with message and say now.
And Serenity slams the door and brings the bar down. So the 5 of you are on the outside of this room, listening to the yells and the hollering on the inside for the better part of the night. And eventually, everything goes silent. The crashing of goblets stops. The clattering of silverware, the splattering of thrown food. It's as though the entire room was suddenly enveloped in a bubble of silence, as per the spell.
Either they're all dead, or Aunt Nancy's finally doing his goddamn share.
How long do you guys wait from that point to do something?
I imagine once it all goes silent, we start to panic.
Yeah, Serenity, once it goes silent, Serenity it'll sit there for a beat, then Serenity will lift the bar up, crack the door open, and peer in.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Mahogany's like right next to her.
And you peer in, and you see Aunt Nancy is in the room, sitting at the table, and all of the gnomes are still having their argument. You see that factions have formed, sides have been taken back and forth. You can't hear any of it. They start to become aware that they can't hear what they're saying, and one by one, all of their heads turn to see Aunt Nancy sitting at the table, smiling to himself. You guys enter the room. He holds his hand up and waves you out.
Yeah, I'll leave.
All right back out.
Mahogany waves and then leaves.
I mean, Serenity's gonna wait till one of these, dwarven bartenders is walking past and grabs something off their tray.
But I don't think we need to lock the door this time.
I'm not taking any chances.
It's well into the next morning that the door opens again, and the inside of the room is trashed. One of you were on the hook for that.
Because Serenity never unbarred it.
Oh. You receive a message, actually, from Dinkflink that an agreement has been reached.
Okay. I'll unbar the door and open it.
And looking inside the room, the place is trashed from the fighting.
Deposit.
Looking in the room, Cherry Ivy is asleep, curled up on a large chair in one corner. Redfern and Kakina are having a conversation to themselves in one side of the room. The old Grandpa Middlebob, is slouched down his chair, snoring very loudly. And the rest look like they're trying to pick some kind of breakfast out of the wreckage. Dinkflink explains that Aunt Nancy got them to agree to go on the journey. That it was almost like suddenly everyone in the room suddenly snapped to and saw the importance of what they were being asked to do, and that these petty differences didn't matter as much as they expected.
Seems familiar.
She suspects that the hard task was just getting them together in the first place.
Yeah, you can tell us.
Liberation just stands there and grins. Called it.
I don't know. It seemed okay. I didn't. It wasn't
No,
that
my
hard.
part was great. It was the easiest job I've ever done.
It's almost like you
We got to go to the woods.
could have got it from a guy in Sigil who only gives jobs to lazy people who want easy jobs.
I talked to a squirrel.
No, I'm putting that guy out of business.
So, Dinkflink has kind of taken the standard on of negotiating the actual particulars of getting everything together. She's the one with actual adventuring experience. She's the one that can get these people to go out onto dangerous plains. So she's going to kind of spearhead that at this point. What she asks you guys for is basically just to be there for them when they need you. When this whole demon business starts to come their way. That they need to be ready for it. Because you remember some of these middle bobs are primes. They don't know much about demons, so they're not really they don't really have a good appreciation for what they're up against.
Right.
Did
Yeah, well,
Nancy give you guys a job?
Well, they already had one. They had their task to go out and find their hidden cache.
Oh, you're still on that one.
Yeah.
Yep.
they're way back there.
Where were you guys going? We went to the Beastlands. It was great.
I think it was the Outlands they were going to.
That's not so bad.
That ones are all right.
Yeah.
I would avoid Mount Celestia.
But yeah, we'll be there for you when you lose. That's the whole point of this agreement, right?
Yeah.
2 teams all out against the third.
So, is that the long-term plan here? Is you and the Middle Bobs are going to work to take out this team of devils?
That's Survivor Alliance, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. We had 8 teams to start. 1 got eliminated. So, do we know of any more that were eliminated?
We know if 2 teams are eliminated. One team is out because somebody died.
Okay.
The Sultry 7 are out because all of them died.
Right.
So that leaves 6 left.
Well, I think
There's 4
there
other
was
teams
one
aside
team
from
that,
us in the middle.
and I think there's
One of
one
which is
other.
the demons. And 3 we don't know anything about.
We don't specifically need to kill all the demons either. Like, we just need to make this not something that they want to do anymore.
Right.
Well, it doesn't hurt to kill them.
There's one team that didn't get their cache. In theory.
Well, there's more than one. Otherwise, the Middle Bobs would be eliminated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if they can push a team out that way, that'll be another team eliminated.
Yep.
So Serenity.
Mm-hmm.
What is the rest of the group's response when Serenity shares this information about this prisoner that she followed the other night?
And I'll also share with Riot that I'm pretty sure he recognized her name when seeing a member.
Does Serenity tell Riot about the stratagem he used? About, like him, about him claiming to be part of my cell?
Wait, I think you're confused. I was claiming to be part of your cell.
Yeah, I'm saying, do you tell Riot about that?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Like, is that something Riot respects or what?
She says, well, this changes everything, Serenity. She claps her on the back.
Is there a secret anarchist handshake?
Now we've got ourselves an infiltrator, a factor in the ciphers.
Serenity just laughs. At any rate, he didn't buy it, so I'm thinking either you or Kelian might have some chance to get any more information if we wanted out of that bar. Though, I mean, they're not exactly any good at being stealthy.
Yeah, that sounds something worth my time. Anything to hurt the Mercy Killers.
But you're saying that the Watcher's son is Factal Nylesia's right-hand man? Is that what I'm hearing?
That's what they seem to believe.
Shouldn't that be
What's his
really
name?
easy to find out what his dad was?
Hector?
Hasim?
Hasim.
Hasim.
Hasim, yes.
A lot of H names in this political mishmash.
Yeah, his name is Hasim Thunderborn.
I know a bit about Hasim Thunderborn. I've heard of that man before.
Oh?
He was promoted, I guess it would have been a while ago by now.
Mm-hmm.
When I heard the information, it was very recently. To fill the hole that then Renal's left. I hear that he's in it for the power. He's a calculating man. He's not a true believer, though.
What's the difference?
Well, a true believer would be working hand in hand with Nylesia to do everything that she wanted. That's not what he wants. He goes along with it for his own benefit.
To get what he wants, or just to get power within this? Like, is he trying to moderate her hand, or is he just trying to get power within the family?
I don't think he's trying to put any sort of check on her. I think he thinks that her new rule leads to power for the faction, and that's good for the faction, not because her rule is good.
Okay.
So what are you saying we do? Do we get him out of it? Do we try to meet him? Do we kick his ass? What?
We are talking about a factor of the Mercy Killers.
Yeah, and
Wow. I gotta say, your Liberation, you're a little bit more bold than I ever remember Elsa Clone being.
Well, he's a different person.
Is that how that works?
maybe I was always a part of LC Clone. I don't know. By the way, his name is Garuk, so I try to use his name instead. Anyway, but that's not important right now. What's important is what are we doing now?
All right, Cypher.
Liberation.
Cypher wouldn't ask. Cypher would already be walking towards.
Exactly. That's why I'm not a Cypher. Boom.
Not Cypher bonus.
Yeah. Well, you don't have a mission from Aunt Nancy. So, yeah, maybe we should turn our attention to the Watcher fella.
Yeah.
Works for me. So maybe I would think we could try and get some more information on those anarchists.
Most of the faction high-ups can't shut up about themselves and where they came from. Shouldn't be too hard to find out this Burke's dad.
Yeah.
Hall of Records might have something.
Well, yeah, you guys see if you can find something there, and I'll go talk to these anarchists.
Okay.
Works for me.
The Hall of Records kind of surprisingly yields nothing. As far as you can tell from the paper trail, Aasim was kind of born into the faction, just like Nylesia was. It's kind of curious because you would expect someone with a prestigious father to have a paper trail. But on the other hand, there's no record of Nylesia's mother either. She very publicly states her mother was just a prisoner in the prison. That's where she was born into that life. So it's not unheard of for someone to rise the ranks of the faction like that and not have a trail. What's weird in this case is you overheard somebody saying that he's the Watcher's son.
Yeah.
And shaking down the anarchists instead, when you say you're going to shaking them down, are we going to try to jump them and capture them?
No. They're my fellow folks.
Oh. Okay, so
That's why we should jump them and capture them.
How do you make contact with
Yeah,
them?
from what I know of your folks, that's absolutely we should jump.
Yeah, because remember what happened? They threw a bag over your head when the most powerful man in Sigil.
Yeah, we don't know that this might not be the second most powerful man.
I love that guy.
Why take our chances?
So yeah, how are you approaching these anarchists?
I'm just gonna go in through the door.
The door of
their
where?
hideout. Their hideout.
Just go stroll right on in?
Sure.
Okay. And I mean, they greet you with violence because they're breaking in. How do you try to quell things? And who's with you, I should ask, I guess.
Mahogany, do you want to come?
Sure, why not?
Okay.
You invite Liberation?
Does Liberation want to come? I mean, we're talking about... okay.
Yeah, I mean...
I'm a little worried with bringing Liberation that he's going to kill some of these people.
So how do you diffuse...
Don't kill people? I'm good.
How do you diffuse the initial explosiveness of the situation?
I tell him first of all, don't be mad at me. Be mad at the people who followed you and told me where you were. I'm an anarchist. Your secrets are safe with me, but you guys need to learn to take better care of them yourselves.
They kind of bristle at the insult. So how do you do business with these guys?
I tell them my cell is working at an oblique angle on the Mercy Killers. We're taking a long view, but we're trying to break the ties between them and the Fated. It seems like you're on the other leg of this operation, and if we can help each other, then I want to do that.
And he points out, "Oh, okay, yeah, you're the one who's behind the group that's looking for the deep portals in the prison.
I'm financing them, yeah.
Looking at the whorehouse on Acheron.
Right.
Liberation looks at Riot like, what?
Mahogany just shrugs. That sounds about right.
Hacking stuff. You don't need to know, Charlie.
At the mention of that group, the tension in the room kind of deflates as the anarchists laugh amongst themselves. They say, and that's the case, you really have no space to be telling anybody to be more careful. If not for us, your boys would have been found out and locked up.
We all look after each other then, don't we?
He nods. He asks what this is about.
Word is, you might have a little information on the man we're looking for called Watcher.
He says it's a dangerous man to be looking for. And he throws it back to you.
And we're in a dangerous business.
If any of us weren't, if any of us weren't interested or cared about living safe lives, I don't think any of us would be in this house, would we?
No fooling.
I don't know. Seems like a well-built house. Sturdy. I don't think there's any danger of it collapsing.
The anarchist.
Why did I bring Mahogany?
The anarchist, the one who Dwath had captured. He introduces himself to you as Shezix.
Okay.
He tells you that he and his friends here identify themselves as anarchists, more or less. But they were all mercy killers in truth, until the mercy killers stopped being the faction they believed in. That's why they need to tear them down. They ask what your excuse is.
Riot says, "Oh, I come by it honestly. Been that way ever since, gosh. I'm trying to remember what the inciting incident for Riot's anarchism would have been.
Is that something she would tell these fools?
Probably not. But she says, "Oh, I go way back."
Shezix explains that if Factal Malin was still in charge, that you and he would be bitter enemies. That he would cut you down if he found you were funding a group who was trying to bring down the prison. But that's not the case. These are different circumstances.
Yeah, everyone comes to light eventually.
He wants to know... he wants to know why you're looking for the Watcher.
Because, as I understand it, the Watcher's deal is he sees your crimes, right? He looks at you. And he knows what you're guilty of.
That's what Factal Malin used to say, yes.
I guess then I want to ask him why he hasn't done anything about the criminal Nilesia.
And Shezix has a hard time answering. And his companions. And from their point of view, Nilesia has committed grave crimes against the faction. The fact that nothing has come along...
And the rest of Sigil, right, helpfully points out.
The fact that nothing has come along to unthrone her, though, to de-seat her from the faction. The fact that she still holds the prison in the eyes of a lot of mercy killers.
I mean, she has a lot of loyalty.
In their eyes, it means she hasn't committed any crimes. The simple fact that she's still the Factal shows that she's innocent. Or at least that her crimes are not grave enough to be sought.
But have they asked the Watcher is what I wonder.
He says, you don't know much about this Watcher, do you?
I've told you everything I know about the man. He's fit in a thimble.
Shezix asks if you believe weird things.
I am a weird thing.
We've seen weird things.
He tells you that he served as Factal Malin's squire when he was a boy.
Okay.
He held the man's shield, poured his drinks, served him faithfully, believed in the edicts of the Mercy Killers all the way to his core. And that Malin held this Watcher in very high esteem, very high regard. But the Watcher was old. Didn't fight anymore. Didn't see people anymore. Malin met with him usually in secret. He knows on some number of occasions, serving as Malin's squire, he must have seen the Watcher. He has memories of traveling down long, dark hallways in the bowels of the prison, of Malin unlocking a large stone door, of Malin telling him that today he will be accompanying him to see the Watcher. He has these vivid memories of that, but he cannot recall anything about the Watcher himself. Not what he looks like, not what the inside of his quarters looks like, not what he was capable of, nothing that was spoken at all. Nobody else in the Mercy Killers, as far as he is aware, has any memory of the Watcher even existing. He finds this very troubling because this was in the past, but it wasn't very far in the past. Only a number of years. Less than a decade. How is it that this important person, this man who the factal of the Mercy Killers held in such high esteem, and who held his counsel, and had such an important role in the faction, how is it that he came to be utterly forgotten? That those who've met him in person have only hazy recollection that he even exists? How is it that the current factal believes he's a myth? Isn't that weird?
That is weird.
He just shrugs and says some magic shit.
Like I said, we've seen weird shit, and that qualifies as weird. So I guess we're pretty well experienced to deal with this kind of thing, eh?
He asks if your lot can fit into a barrel.
How big of a barrel are we talking?
He looks at you and says, well, we're not poking holes for your horns if that's what you're asking.
Well,
like all of us in the same barrel?
I could easily.
He says that at great personal risk, and he means physical risk, as in it's very possible that you will be killed if you undertake this. He might have a way to bring you to meet the Watcher. It's a long shot. His information is very hazy. He's working on levels of hearsay that even he's not sure he buys completely.
Hey, knock it off.
All right, I'll stop. That's it.
Oh, so I don't mute. God damn it! No,
tension deflated.
I'll say, if so long as I can cast, I can get myself out of any danger.
He asks what you intend to cast.
A spell called Dimension Door.
And he asks if you realize you're going to the prison.
That's what I'm asking you. That's why I'm telling you this. So long as I can cast, I can get myself out of any danger.
And he just shakes his head.
Are you telling me that I'd be put in a situation where I couldn't cast? Because then we'd have to think about this.
He says you'll be put in a situation where it will. Basically, he says there wouldn't be much of a prison if things like Dimension Door could get you out.
Yeah,
that's true enough.
He says his work inside the Mercy Killers, after he and his men threw the faction aside, they didn't quit the faction. They decided they were going to stay in and look for weak spots. They think the Watcher is still in the prison. They think he still has his influence, and they think he's worked some kind of magic to erase his identity from the minds of the opposition. Which means there's a network in place that still gets him food and drink. And that's the angle they've been working. If you and yours can crawl into barrels, we might have a way to deliver you to him. Or we might have a way to deliver you directly into an incinerator in the bowels of the prison. But that's the risk you take.
Makes sense to me. Let's go.
I'll tell the others, and I'll let you know very soon what we decide.
So what are the 5 of you hearing this? This discussion.
One barrel?
No, not one barrel.
Don't worry, I clarified.
I mean,
I guess the question is, it's the risk is whatever. We're all up for that.
right.
The question is, what benefit do we are we looking to get from this?
Well,
what do we want the Watcher for? You're the one in contact with Dwarf.
Well, we also wanted the Watcher for the what's her face from the Plains Militant, or the lady who was hanging out with the Plains Militant, the Inquisitor. No, the
Justicar.
Yeah, the Justicar.
Yeah, Ione. And
I have forgotten that part of it.
She was the one who had brought in some Koi to the Mercy Killers, and she also wants to bring down Nylesia. She was there doing some soul searching.
Yeah.
Right. And what did she want the Watcher for?
Presumably to help bring down Nylesia.
Okay.
So
well, bringing down Nylesia, I'd risk my life for that.
Yeah.
We need to see if we can get in touch with the Justicar then.
It seems to me that the Hardheads aren't working anymore as a faction, and they aren't what the city needs anymore. But they were, at least mostly, and this will say to Riot, or more so under the last factal. And this would be a step towards bringing that back.
Can you maybe magic-y thingy do your things in a message to her and see if she's in town?
And Riot shoots him a withering look and said, "It has a name."
Yeah, well, I don't know magic. Magic is your wheelhouse, right?
Fuck your spell?
Do we really want to bring a Justicar into the prison?
I don't think
seems
she's going to
like-
volunteer to be hidden in the barrel and get into a
That
prison.
seems like folly.
I think we're talking about the 5 of us establishing contact with the Watcher on this person's behalf.
Yeah.
So I guess
So ask
you
her
want me to
if,
cast a setting and ask her what would we do with him if we met him?
yeah.
We can figure that out once we've found him, if he's even down there. She's well enough known within her faction. We don't gain anything extra to proving that we're working with her from sending Ascending. So unless you want to go to Mount Celestia, and I'm going to give a good hard look at
Mahogany shakes his head.
Mahogany and Kelian when I say that, and pick up some sort of token or something. There's no reason to worry about it until we're there with the watch.
Okay,
So,
well, I thought I'd
are we
just
looking
throw
at-
that out there.
Are we looking at busting him out, or are we trying to ask him a specific question?
Once
Because
we're
those are two
inside,
very-
we're
those
looking
are
to
two
get
very
ourselves
different-
out.
Yeah.
So at that point, it's probably more up to him than us.
So what's the decision here?
Let's get into barrels.
Yeah, but what are we going to talk to the Watcher about before we...
Who cares? We'll figure it out when we get there.
You guys,
I care a lot.
you can make contact with
Yeah.
Ione before you do this if you want.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to
So-
get at, and also Dwath.
Yeah, you go talk to Dwarf and find out what he wants to know from the Watcher. I'll contact Ione.
Okay.
Okay.
This sounds like a fair plan.
Dwath could definitely make use of the Watcher, but it was Serenity that hired him to help find him.
Yeah.
Not the other way. I don't think Dwath even knew about the Watcher until Serenity put it to him.
I mean, I can ask him if there's anything he would want me to tell the Watcher on his behalf if I could find my way into him, and also that I'll, probably be disappearing, probably locked up for the rest of my life again. Normal.
The huge.
I mean, if this guy exists and he has the powers it's claimed he does, he would be a great asset to Dwath and his men.
And what are the powers they claim he has again?
It's rumored that he knows whether or not individuals have committed crimes, and it's also rumored that people who have worked with him develop this same ability.
Right. Kelian does not like this plan.
So if you make contact with Ione, what do we tell her?
I ask her, we're looking to establish contact with the Watcher. Is there anything you want us to ask him?
INA very bluntly tells you to beg on her behalf. Because she confides also that she's certain she's met this man. She's certain she's worked with him, fought at his side, but can only recall very vague things about him. She can't bring forth a vivid memory of speaking to him or anything. So she tells you to beg on her behalf to help her bring the faction back to glory. To find out whether he's even willing to do that.
Okay.
All right.
Do you want to take her into the prison with you when you go?
Does she want to come?
I mean, when you tell him that the only way we can go in is to climb into barrels and then hope we get delivered to the right place, like it's a Metal Gear truck. She believes that you believe you found the Watcher, and she's willing to risk life and limb as well. This is as close as anybody's gotten in as long as she's been working this angle.
I'm kind of on her side, but for different reasons.
Yeah. If she wants to come, I see no reason to stop her.
All right. So we are going then.
Yeah.
The 6 of you.
How many members of the
You
Plains
don't have to
Militant
go.
do we need to do a personal favor for until we can go back to Mount Celestia?
So Kelian's not going?
How many people did you kill?
I don't remember, man.
Kelian, you're not going?
Uh,
I'm sorry, should I ask Eric? But that was definitely an Eric sigh. Come on.
yeah,
Come on.
no, it was like, oh, let's meet an NPC who knows every crime you've ever committed. Yeah, great. This is
So you're not going?
no. Of course, Kelian's going. He's committed to the party.
So here's...
Riot's not worried. She's got this cool new ring.
Shezix and his people have worked out that if the Watcher is real, and if he is still in the prison, the Watcher must have arranged some network of provisions to be delivered to him. They think they found this out. They found a group of supplies, including food, water, and ale, that is moved through the prison, changing hands enough from one area to another that nobody really seems to know what it's for. And eventually it's written off as refuse and dumped down a rubbish chute, which goes into the bowels of the prison which Riot's been to before, because she's infiltrated the place, and they're scary as hell.
And Riot's question is, are you sure that these aren't the write-offs that are being taken to the brothel?
And no, he's not. When you ask him, he doesn't know that for a fact. That's why it's a risk. It's entirely possible that this shipment will slide down a chute, go through a portal to the plane of ooze, and that's where you all die. He has no idea. But this shipment is pretty regular. It's every 2 weeks. It's got provisions for a person to live comfortably. It's got some luxury items, food items that wouldn't make its way to prisoners, for one thing. And it doesn't seem to go off-plane through a known portal that they've discovered. And working with your other group that you've got working the prison, they don't know of a portal at the end of this rubbish chute either.
So what do we know about Carcerai as characters?
I'll leave that up to you, whatever you want to know about
I'm
it.
asking because there's something that you mentioned another time that I'm wondering if I would know.
What's that?
That if you go there unwillingly, you can't get out. And I'm wondering if this counts as going willingly.
That's an excellent question, and nobody knows the answer.
I love that. I love that GM Brickroad
Because
answer.
because what I'm asking is if Mahogany would know of even the concept, he would assume that this counts as going willingly.
I'll leave it up to you.
Too
Yeah,
concerned.
if you're asking whether or not you know that, that's up to you, what you know.
Alright, I'm gonna say anything that's super basic information about a plane, Mahogany would have the base level curiosity to ask.
I mean, the risk you run is that a lot of this information may or may not be true. Or may be true in all cases. Or...
No, that's absolutely fine. I'm just saying that, like, stuff that's, like, random people could know, Mahogany probably knows, just because he's a curious person.
So, Shezix and his guys nail you all into coffins. There's a little bit of an argument when he realized you're into barrels. I'm sorry. And
yeah, right. Okay.
there's a little bit of an argument when he realized you're bringing Serenity along. But INA, of all people, smooths that over. INA and Shezix know each other from Thactyl Malin's days. And they're in
Serenity was going to leave all of her magic items in the rat.
In the rat hole?
Non-magical mall. One less way they can pick up on me is items.
Okay.
You guys can see magic, right?
So if you use Pass Without Trace and then burst out of this barrel, does it leave the barrel fine?
I ran a game once where they were in this tomb dungeon and they had to go down a coffin chute. And I was playing that game for some reason 5 minutes ago when I said that.
And then they get to join the Darkstalkers.
Right. See, they hammer the 6 of you into barrels. So Shezix at first wants to shiv Serenity in the neck, but working with INA smooths that over. Serenity and INA hold each other in decent regard, I'm assuming.
Well,
and you are.
He said he was working for Riot, and now he shows up with Riot.
That does
happen.
happen.
Should just be like, oh shit, I was wrong.
There's a lot of jostling as you guys are loaded onto a pallet, carried on a cart through the prison. You feel yourselves banging down a set of broad stairs, loaded onto an elevator. And as Shezix explains, you change hands many times going through the bowels of the prison. And eventually, it seems like the people who are transporting you stop acting like they're moving provisions and start acting like they're moving rubbish. And eventually, you are, one by one, loaded up and rolled into this chute, which builds up a great deal of speed. And you feel the sensation of going through a portal.
Do you feel like it's dangerous?
And then everything... And then everything is, after you come to a halt, battered and bruised inside of this rolling barrel. The rest of the load of the cart kind of laying around you, everything is dark and silent. Now the question is, how do you guys get out of these barrels?
Kick.
Break your way out?
I can just knock my way out.
Does it count as a door, though?
The room you're in is pitch black. Does anybody have a light source?
I have dark vision.
You have
Produce flame.
Yeah.
Produce flame? Okay. Dark vision does not avail you in this situation,
Okay.
but produce
Never mind.
flame will.
Alright.
The walls are black stone. And it's actually a reasonable temperature here. But the room you're in is almost featureless. Looking back, you see an archway set into the wall, but it's just a solid wall behind it as well. This would be the portal that you exited through. There's a door at the other end of the room. A wooden door, painted black. And you hear a voice on the other side that has a very bizarre accent to it. A very old man. It simply says, "Why have you come in place of my 6 barrels of ale?"
We wanted to talk to you.
And he says, "Then enter, and let's converse."
Mahogany goes in.
Yeah.
We've already gone this far. I'm not getting back out by the same way I came in.
Right.
In for a penny.
Opening this door, the inside of the room, every feature is black. But it's an opulent room. Very well furnished. Carpeting, a 4-post bed with silk curtains. No adornments on the walls as far as tapestries or designs of that nature. But a large table with like fine china and silverware set. But every surface is black, and there's no source of light. There's a man sitting at the table, and he has a mug sitting in front of him, and he might very well be the oldest human being you've ever seen in your life. He has scraggly silver hair kind of curling off his head, most of which is bald. He has a very dark complexion. He's wearing... He's a human. I mean, he's a human corpse, maybe. He's that old. You've never seen a human this old. You've seen some old things in your life. Some of you met Middle Bob II. He looks like he's at least that old.
Well, if you want some ale, I got this cup here. All you got to do is whistle a little bit, and boom, and there's some ale for you.
He's dressed in incredibly fine clothes. A black tabard, silk shoes, not wearing anything on his head, but tied around his eyes is a blindfold, a loop of cloth that ties around the back of his head. All along one wall, you see her hanging a huge variety of weapons. And this is the only source of color in the room, is the glint off of the silver of a lot of these weapons. And he, in his way, invites you into the room. He tells you that he's prepared 6 chairs for you.
So he knew we were coming.
He nods over to the side of the room, says you can drag them over from there.
Yeah, I'll go get mine.
Okay.
Yep. Sure.
Grab my chair.
He says that it is his
chairs?
great pleasure to sit once again in the presence of Ione Whitespear. She looks beside herself. You can tell that she's never... the look on her face, she's never seen this man before in her life. She has no recollection of being in his presence.
And so you must be the Watcher, I presume.
He turns to the side and spits on the ground. He says, the old Factyl gave me that name. I have always hated it.
So what do we call you that won't offend you?
It's the only thing anyone can remember of you.
He reaches around the back of his head and unties the blindfold, pulls it aside, and his face is horrible to behold. The wrinkles and the spots, but his eyes are the worst of all. There's blood seeping from the 4 corners of his eyes, dried down his face, and in the sockets are stones. And he says, I would prefer my given name. You can call me Khalil.
Okay, Khalil, so...
And that's where
Tell
we'll
me
end the
something here.
session for this week.
Nice.
Nice. I knew it from when you said Thunderborn. I knew it. That's when I knew it.
So, session number 8, you knew it?
Did you really?
Yeah.
I don't think you
Yeah.
ever gave that name.
No, he did. I have it in my notes.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
A long time ago, when I was funding research into the prison, I learned about Aasimar Thunderborn.
And actually, my notes say that Aasimar is not even in Sigil anymore. I've got, was sent as a Justicar to bring Knowles to justice.
That's possible.
That sounds right.
Khalil's so pissed off because he had to live this long knowing Eldov.
Yeah, no, right?
He was like, man, I can't even escape this man from death.
Shouldn't have agreed to go back into the friggin' dancing hut. Why? Why? Why anything?
Why anything? I said, 'cause for those of you in the chat who don't know the story, McDohl rolled up a dwarf that nobody remembers in the first campaign, and then we killed him because why the fuck not?
Yep,
And
He killed himself.
that's true.
he rolled up this fighter named Khalil, and when he described this fighter's outlook, like my immediate, I think I even said at the time, my immediate
Yeah, you
comment is,
did.
that's
You
a
did.
mercy killer.
You did.
So this particular twist has been a year and a half in the making?
Something like that.
It was a good one. You got me.
Yeah, me too. That was good.
I was like,